Hello, welcome to an all-new Marvel cast, Explosion Network's hub of all things Marvel, a place to talk about everything MCU and beyond, from Avengers and Defenders to Caroline Trainer and Serena Patel. I'm Ashley Hobley, Explosion Network's resident friendly neighborhood podcast host, and joining me today, Ultimate Kieran Marchant.
Oh god, the introing, I don't know what else to do. Fuck, I know, poetry! I don't pay attention to the world ending. It has ended for me many times, and began again in the morning.
Also joining us is Dylan Blight.
Spider-Man, my worst enemy. I'm gonna kill Spider-Man. Spider-Man, the worst. P-Ware-5, Spider-Man. Spider-Man's my friend. I hate Spider-Man. Kill my daddy. Kill my dad. He'll kill my dad.
Wow, we're on fire for this episode. Alright, so everyone worked it out today. We're talking about Spider-Man 2. Released 2004, directed by Sam Raimi, screenplay by Alvin, Sargent, story by Alfred Gough, Miles Millar, Michael Chabon, based on Spider-Man by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, starring Tobey Maguire, Alfred Molina, Kirsten Dunst, James Franco, Rosemary Harris, and J.K. Simmons. Peter Parker is dissatisfied with life when he loses his job, the love of his life, Mary Jane, and his powers. Amid all the chaos, he must fight Dr. Octavious, who threatens to destroy New York City. Dylan, what are your memories of Spider-Man 2? What did you think of the film on this rewatch?
I'll just say, if you listen to this, presume you listen to part one, so for the sake of not mainly on about the same points, I just grouped 1 and 2 of these films as both good memories from my childhood, and I still enjoyed this one. I think this one is still better than the first film. I think the thing that may come to a shock to the system for years on the rewatch is it is still primarily a romance at the heart of everything, rather than a big villain wanting to take over the world superhero movie, which maybe in everyone's rose-tinted glasses view back at the film, that's kind of what it is. But all these movies come back to actually just being the romance is like sort of the center point. I enjoyed it. I still think the action scenes are good. Well, with an allowance for they're a little bit aged or whatever. The special effects I still think look pretty good. What's his face? How do you say his name?
Alfred Molina?
Yeah, he's still really good at Doc Ock, obviously. He's the standout in this movie, and we know we're going to get some more of him soon, so it was good to, do this rewatch and get an idea of what his performance was like in this, playing that role, so I can have that in the back of my mind coming into seeing that character again and have that little bit of comparison as we come into No Way Home. But, no, I still really enjoyed it.
All right.
I mean, it's got some really silly moments. I've chucked it out. So, yes, I'm aware there are some really silly moments and comedic things and whatever else. But, yes, I still enjoyed it.
All right. Kieran, what are your memories? Especially, I'm interested to hear your thoughts after you, like me, dislike Spider-Man 1 on rewatch.
Memories are good overall. I think Spider-Man 2 was, from memory, my favorite of the three. And I don't know if that's just because of the movie or the fantastic video game that was alongside this that I played the shit out of for much of that time period. But no, this one was probably the standout where it was like, okay, kind of back in the, originally the premonition was, okay, they kind of figured out more and kind of got their feet a little bit more with this. This movie, I feel this movie gets Spider-Man better. Or kind of I like the Spider-Man parts more, and I like the Doc Ock interactions a lot more. I just hate everything to do with Peter Parker in this movie. I really just don't like Tobey Maguire in the role as Peter. I don't know what it is. It's almost as if the script writers were at odds with the script writers of the original, and I don't realize if it's the same script writer for both. But it's a different. because, like, Spider-Man 1 so clearly ends with Peter being like, hey, MJ, I can't do this. Like, I get it, you've just poured out your heart and soul to me, I can't do this. Like, this isn't a thing I can do. And then all of this movie acts like he never had that opportunity, and like as if he's still like a lovesick puppy dog chasing after her. And it's like, no, you made this decision. Like, you made the decision that it's too dangerous for her, and that you're going to have these people chasing after her if she gets involved. And you decided no. And now you can't be going around and doing this bullshit all the time where you're like, oh, how can I start talking to what was apparently my best friend again? Oh, I'm going to start reading poetry. Because you know what? Women love poetry, and I need to know how to talk to them women's. And I'm just going to start randomly blurting out poetry at this random freaking... Oh, don't... I was so...
At a party I'm working at? Yeah.
Yeah, at a party I'm working at where you've just seen that she has a astronaut boyfriend and has just been presented to the entire party. And it's just... it's just so frustrating. Just a lot of Tobey Maguire's performance in this, to me, is just very frustrating. I understand if it's just, the Raimi type of humor, or he's going for that creepy nature to him, but I don't know about going for the creepy nature, but he's trying to do socially awkward, and it just goes that too far and lands a little bit in creepy and weird. Also, I think the storyline, I remember originally thinking the storyline about Peter kind of not losing his powers, but his powers not functioning correctly was a good storyline and done well in this. I feel like now that they've took another shot at it in Far From Home, like, I think the Far From Home version of the same kind of through point is just done so much better. Like, and I think maybe that's just because it is... I don't know, I think it almost goes back to him being one that produces his own web, so the web functionality is part of it and everything. I don't know, it's just... I like it when, with the Tom Holland and with the MCU version, because like the Spidey sense is kind of is actually a part of that character. It works out well. But everything Spider-Man wise, like I think the train scene is super iconic. It's kind of stupid that Peter Parker pretty much tells a doctor that he's Spider-Man at one point. Thought that was kind of dumb.
No, he didn't. He was talking about his friend. he was talking about in his dream. In his dream. And, James Franco was whatever the hell that storyline is, because that's super weird. After being kind of disappointed with one, last week, we'll say, I remember watching this in the theaters, loved it, had it on DVD, on repeat all the time. I think this is, like, it still holds up. I think, this one manages to find that balance between, like, the campy jokes and those kind of things, and, like, definitely lands more. This, I feel like, obviously, this is the version of Peter Parker that we don't really get in the other two iterations, where he's got the Parker luck, If he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. It's like everything pretty much goes wrong for him. He's in the crappiest situation possible all the time. He's always late to everything. It definitely feels like that version of the comics, which I appreciate. Again, like, we have this cool villain, Dr. Octopus, which I will say, it's kind of interesting watching these, again, so closely together, where they're very similar, actually, Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus. Both people that have kind of lost their minds and, like, are talking to themselves.
I wish Doc Ock could have just been a villain. Like, he didn't need some kind of ulterior thing talking in his mind. For Green Goblin, that was the other version of the Green Goblin talking in Harry.
No, but see, Norman Osborn was a dick to start off with, so... Whereas Dr. Octavius was a nice dude. He was just trying to create fusion.
No, but like you could have still had the same kind of you still could have had the same deterioration of mentality without having the octopus.
They're literally doing the Darth Vader storyline in one movie, though. good guy, corrupted to evil, comes back at the end, goes back to the light side, saves the day, dies a hero.
Dies a hero, kind of. But yeah, all that kind of stuff really worked. Like a lot of I think the action scenes obviously much improved on the first one. Yeah, I think the chemistry between, I think the Mary Jane Peter thing was like, I was on board with this film. Yeah, I appreciate it. Even though Peter awkward as hell, it's like, sure, it's like, it's wrong for you, but you can't help yourself. You want to move on, but you can't. And that's for good reason.
But he's not trying to move on. He's not trying to move on.
You don't know. It's been 2-something years between films, right? At least a year, you'd have to assume.
No, there's no definite, this is how long this has been.
Aunt May says it's been 2 years since Ben was taken from them, so.
And you would presume probably a year goes by in the first movie at least.
I guess, yeah.
So at most a year.
So Spidey's been going around for a year doing stuff. Yeah.
But it also feels like Doc Ock is only his second major villain, which is to me kind of strange.
Speaking
not
of
a Doctor Strange, but yeah.
No, that's already taken. That was what a tie-in. Seeing as we got Sam Raimi coming back to do Doctor Strange in Multiverse of Madness, which might pull into this film. Who knows? Craziness is coming. But yeah, I just think I find the Doctor Octopus thing kind of interesting. Yeah, him losing his mind, and then he wants to follow his dreams, but his push goes too far. Yeah. And really, he only targets Spider-Man because James Franco tells him to. So he wouldn't have gotten Spider-Man involved at all if Harry had just given him whatever he needed. And then they'd all be dead.
I think you could still have the exact same storyline, but instead of having the octopus limbs freaking corrupting him, just be the dude is just going mad with grief because of.
They're like little velociraptors.
Yeah, I wish that was something they'd explored more, because obviously they set up his relationship with his wife at the start.
It's kind of understandable if you go, okay, he's mad with grief. Who does he turn to blame? He turns to, blame everybody else, blame the rest of the city, blame Spider-Man, turn around and blame Osborn and force Osborn to help him, try and make it right or whatever. And then, have that moment at the end where he comes to and realizes this is not what my wife would have wanted, and still have the same kind of story arc in there.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, that is a missed opportunity in this film. Yeah. How do we feel about... Obviously, I thought it was interesting, the whole thing with Mary Jane being an actress and, she's actually doing stuff and that kind of stuff. It's and all the comedic scenes, I think, or comedic-ish scenes were kind of amusing. The opening of this film is, a lot of fun. With Peter having to try and keep his job. Is to get across the city in 8 minutes or less. Otherwise, get fired.
Is that Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie?
Yeah, Rush.
Rush.
Except he's got a motor on his scooter. That's the difference.
Yeah. I just like how he begs for the job. Hey, Mr. Whatever. I need this job, please. Come on. Is it really that hard?
Also,
to get a cheap-ass job like that?
It's also
according to... Well,
super minor thing, but Doc Connors fired him from a job in the first movie, and now Dr. Connors is his college professor.
Was that a thing? Was that a throwaway line in the first movie?
That was a throwaway line in the first one, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Doc Connors
maybe it was
fired from his job, and then had to take up a...
He was a student aide during the first year of uni or something. He got fired because obviously unreliable.
I completely forgot that they even had Connors name dropped as his professor in this and everything like that. Makes you wonder if they'd gone to a 4th, 5th, 6th movie.
Well, they went through the effort of him not having an arm in this one and stuff, making sure it's got the he doesn't have an arm. His sleeve is folded up and everything.
Absolutely. Spoilers. Did you just say he's in the third one? I don't remember that either.
Yeah, from what it says on Wikipedia.
By the way, the one little thing before we head into 3 next week, I just want to point out, since we're talking about who wrote these films, Sam Raimi, the only one he actually wrote, is the third one. So get excited for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse.
Oh no.
You're going to have Dr. Stephen Strange dancing down the street.
Well, it's interesting that there's still a lot of those kind of moments in this. You know, there's the moment where he's like, after he's given up being Spider-Man, he's walking down the street too. Raindrops keep falling on my head. You know? There's a full-on, like, weird freeze frame moment.
Yeah.
It's like, what is...
Even though we haven't watched 3, but watching that, I was like, oh, was this actually... Maybe I'll think more about it when we get to that moment in 3. But I'm like, was that moment in 3 then created on purpose to be the counterpiece to that happy song moment in this one? Like, is that why they did it? Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, yeah. Yeah. So how do we feel? You know, how do we feel about Peter and MJ? You know, are we happy they got together? No. Kieran?
You know what? I can't believe that MJ let it get to the wedding before she decided that she was going to run off and go find Peter. I was like, what the fuck? After the moment you had at the end, like, you took this long? Come on, woman. I get it. It's writing is for drama. It is for drama and everything, but still. The only thing that does pop is the go get him tiger is still pretty.
I'm still just a girl looking at you, boy. Yeah. Looking out a window. Like how they finally get back together and then the first fucking police siren that goes, go get him, tiger.
Alright, let's get into building the multiverse. Obviously, we've got Alfred Molina as Dr. Octopus. First appearance, The Amazing Spider-Man number 3, July 1963. Created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Obviously, Alfred Molina, great. I don't think we've got any issues. You know, he has some great zingers and that kind of stuff, you know. A very menacing. He's not like what we would think of as an MCU villain now, I don't think. But, you know, he's got presence and, like, obviously, you know, all the stuff with the tentacles and stuff. It's like, tentacles are pretty cool for their day when you consider it. Like, design-wise.
I still think they look very cool. Like,
yeah.
When he's standing there
doing
stuff.
I'm pretty sure a fair amount of it was, like, pretty practical. Like, yeah, except for, like, wide shots and that kind of stuff.
Robotic stuff or whatever.
Any time they're in close, yeah.
They reminded me of Velociraptors, especially at the start there when he's like, he arrives at the place and he's like, what have I done and all that. And they just like keep coming up close to it. He's like, you should be buried at the bottom of the ground or whatever. And like one like comes up to his face. It's like,
well, if anybody ever needed like a reason or inspiration to be like, okay, why should there be like horror superhero movies? Just show the scene in the
hospital?
In the hospital with the operating theater. Like, that shit is...
How did nobody else notice that happened?
I don't know. It's a couple blood splatters short of a horror movie scene, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty violent without the blood.
Yeah.
And you can tell PG, that's the most... It's also the most Sam Raimi shot sequence in the whole movie, because they do the whole thing he does in The Evil Dead where the arm's coming to get someone and it's a camera POV, like going across the ground, like you see it from the arms thing.
Or like somebody crawling towards a chainsaw and stuff.
Yeah, the chainsaw. I was like, come on, that's totally a reference.
Also, another Bruce Campbell cameo.
Yeah. Bruce Campbell's in every fucking Sam Raimi movie. I can't remember who he is in the third one, but I'm going to have my eye out.
So Sam Raimi plays the usher who doesn't let Peter into the play.
You mean Bruce Campbell does, not Sam Raimi?
Okay, yeah.
Bruce Campbell plays the usher who refuses Peter entry in the movie, the play. You know?
That's a funny scene too.
It is quite amusing.
Might want to fix your shoe. Oh, might want to fix your tie.
Well,
can't come in. Fuck off. Or whatever, you know what I mean.
He doesn't actually say anything until...
It's funny, though.
It is quite, amusing and that kind of stuff. Also, shout out, who was Emily Deschanel from Bones fame was the receptionist at the start. I feel like Daniel Day Kim was he was Otto Octavius' assistant.
I laughed about her thing though because I only think of her as like Bones. It's like very like normal, or I don't know what like prim proper sort of character or whatever. Like she speaks smart and everything. Whereas in this, she's playing this like chewing gum receptor. Like, it's late. I'm not paying. Like, not used to that.
It's pizza time.
Yeah. Everybody kind of big who was kind of in the background. Like Joel McHale was the bank teller at the bank.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was looking young.
Very young. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, so obviously...
There was another one. Hold on. There was another one I spotted. I just remember. Chloe Dykstra. She's on
Chloe
train.
Dykstra is one of the train passengers with Dan Hinks from Evil Dead and that kind of stuff, and Joey Diaz. I feel like he's in like The Sopranos. Yeah.
And
Yes,
Joe
The
Rogan
Sopranos,
podcast.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wish Joe Rogan was on that train and it ran him over.
Fucking hell.
And he lived, but he learned his lesson.
What? Sorry. Just to please, which lesson's that?
Not to platform fucking pieces of shit on his stupid fucking podcast. There, how about that?
I don't think podcasts were a thing in 2004.
I also don't know how getting run over by a train is something that would really teach that lesson.
It's karma. I don't know.
I guess might as well quickly touch on it. Dylan Baker as Kurt Connors, who would go on to become the Lizard, at least in the comics. First appeared in The Amazing Spider-Man #6, November 1963, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Probably more relevant to bring up because obviously we got another iteration of Kurt Connors later in the books, the movies.
In the books, yeah, in the books.
In the books and the movies. Actually, bring it back to Alfred Molina now. What do we expect from him in Far From Home? No Way Home. Fucking hell, all these stupid movies. What do we expect from Alfred Molina in No Way Home? Because obviously he's not really when you think about it, he's not a bad guy in this movie. He's obviously being manipulated by the tentacles. So, like, is it...
This is why when we was talking about it last, I said I was intrigued to find out if it's going to be the exact same version or it's a different universe version where it is actually him and he's just bad. Because if it is somehow this universe's version that's got pulled out of time or some weird shit like that, then it's like, okay,
doesn't really make a lot of sense.
It doesn't make sense because...
At least he's getting pulled in and needs to be catch up Spider-Man to take the Harry.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, right, there is also almost a knowing tone to how he says hello there, Peter. That is almost like if Tobey Maguire isn't opposite him at that point.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense and it just feels wasted.
What if Alfred Molina's there to help? We assume he's going to be a bad guy in this, right?
Yeah, we're assuming, yes.
Yeah, what if he's there to help?
He could be there to help. That'd be cool. But how did he
help?
He
got pulled into this universe because he got into that fusion thing. You know, and
I was going to say,
teleported him into the multiverse.
How'd the Green Goblin get there?
I don't know. Magic.
Well, the Green Goblin is... Look, nobody in this universe understood what the Green Goblin ever was, because now the Green Goblin version of Osborn is turning up in mirrors and, laughing at his son and baiting him into finding his secret lair.
Harry's just losing his mind. He just found out that his best friend is Spider-Man, and Spider-Man didn't have time to tell him, "No, I did not kill your dad." He accidentally got killed himself by. He used to be.
But that's because he promised. He promised that he wouldn't tell Harry.
You could have just said, "Harry, it was an accident.
Wasn't me.
He got hit by a car."
You could have just,
I couldn't save him in time.
Left him in the Green Goblin suit. Just drop him there. Just be like, whoops.
Yeah.
Also, just a minor point. Whoever had to look, it's clearly a villain who has put all those grenades separately spaced on shelves, because that'd be a pain in the fucking ass to do. Would be too much time. Would be taken done that. And
it's a custom built shelf, so they all have little pockets so the grenades don't roll on the bench. Obviously, they all need like little holes so they stand where they are.
But do you really just gonna like one by one, like little?
I'm sure it would be that hard to get. I'm sure they've got like stands for like baseballs or something. Like if you get a lot of baseballs signed or something. Like a display cabinet.
Yeah. Just go into the shop. Can I have an extra large baseball shelf, please, sir? Oh, you're a baseball collector. No. Somebody call 911.
Actually, it's America. They've probably got grenade cabinets. That's probably a thing, right? Alright, so the Stan Lee sighting for this week. Lee repeats his Spider-Man stunt with another innocent person during Spider-Man's first battle with Dr. Octopus. In a blooper scene that appears an extra on the film's DVD release, Lee has another cameo saying, "Look, Spider-Man stole that kid's sneakers."
It's a blink and miss at one in the movie, or even more so than the first one. The first one, you have at least you can see his face. This one, the camera's from a higher angle when he pulls away, and the shot is literally probably less than 2 seconds, I think. So, yeah.
Definitely. And that's been your Stan Lee sighting for this week. Dylan, what's the most marvelous moment from Spider-Man 2?
Train sequence. Are we all picking the same thing? Come on.
I think, it's the train sequence.
It's the train sequence. It's the most talked about, famous scene from the movie, obviously. It's still quite funny, like his face where he's like... it's like, it's full on, but no, I think it's like, maybe it's less, if you want to pick, like the whole thing's great, fight through to the finale, but I guess the most marvelous moment would be just the way the people react to him and the kids pass their mask back and everything like that. And spoilers for wink wink nudge nudge, it was reminding me of a certain PS5 game of recent, a similar moment. Wink wink nudge nudge. But yeah, that would be my pick.
Kieran, why is it the train scene?
It's the train sequence. I think it's hard to go elsewhere. I always find it interesting that his suit rips in sections, but there's no physical damage to his body in those sections either.
It's all internal.
It's all just internal.
He has spider healing.
He's got internal webs holding his muscles.
He's made of webs, bro.
He's made of webs. Okay, interesting.
Remember when they zoomed in on his finger last movie? I was about to say episode, and he has all these little spider legs. That's his body.
I do appreciate though that like you have this moment of, oh, if you want Spider-Man, you're gonna have to go through us, and they all line up. And you know, some people would probably expect in like a good-hearted superhero movie, the villain to be like, "I'll get you next time, Spider-Man."
Or like to actually fight them.
Doc Ock was like, "No, all right, I will go through you then. I've got these giant octopus arms, and you're just random people.
I will part you like the Red River."
Red Sea.
Red Sea. I've read the Bible!
I watched Prince of Egypt. Yeah, clearly it's got to be the train sequence. It's like everything leading up to it, even like the fight, like on the clock tower. That was part of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was cool. I'll tell you what the worst part of this movie though is when that motherfucker drops Aunt fucking May. She's like, "Oh!" It was so dumb. It looks so weird just to see that little granny just fall.
But yeah, back on the train sequence. Like I got emotional when he was like being carried through. Obviously, it's a movie I'd seen a bunch of times, but I don't think I've seen it in like 10 years or something. Yeah, just like, you know, they care. Although, why did they crowd surf him through the train? They could have like sort of carried him along the ground or something.
I don't know.
It seems a bit
odd. It was like,
in hindsight,
it was very godlike, I guess, to have an image of him being passed through the people like that.
Yeah, it's kind of very white savior kind of thing. It's like, obviously, we had the Khaleesi thing in Game of Thrones from a couple of years back, remember? Which was like crowd surfs over a bunch of slaves. That was not well received. But yeah, I think there's a bunch of other cool sequences, obviously. I don't mind the fight with Aunt May. I don't think, obviously, like some of her acting is like not super great in front of the green screen and that kind of stuff.
She falls. Yeah, it's just the green screen where she falls. It's fucking got me.
I was one of the random sublines that they try and put in, which kind of once again makes no sense when in conjunction with the original Spider-Man movies. At the end of the Spider-Man, you get the sense of like the whole of the average people of New York are very much behind Spider-Man and what he's doing. Yet you get to this movie and there's this new disdain or dislike for Spider-Man by the general people, even to the point of Aunt May like him.
It's because the Daily Bugle's been spewing their propaganda. Propaganda, even. You only have to look at America at the moment to know that that kind of stuff can affect people. So,
did you say propaganda?
I said propaganda the first time.
Propaganda. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then I corrected myself. I will say the other cool shot was the Dr. Octopus throwing the car through the cafe window.
Yeah, that was the one I remembered. Like, there's a couple shots I remember from the movie going in before I watched it. It was like, the train and the ending, just like him going into the water, like a couple images. That slow motion sequence of the car coming through was one of the ones I was looking forward to, and it still held up. It was still a cool moment, I thought. Conversation before it was kind of awkward as fuck, but I know you said 2 minutes ago you love me, but now you're saying you don't. What the hell?
What the hell? Like, make up your minds. My mind was playing trips.
I'm thinking like MJ slaps this motherfucker right now.
I mean, we all assumed that she was trying to kiss him to find out if it was Spider-Man, right?
Mm-hmm. 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 That's why at the end she's like, I always had my I thought it was.
There's the part where she kisses Jameson upside down as well, and I'm like, oh boy, okay. Upside down kisses are apparently where it's at. And so, ladies and gentlemen, listen to this podcast. If you want to know if you're dating your true love, kiss them upside down.
No, if you want to know if you're dating Spider-Man, kiss them upside down. It's the only way to know.
I don't know. He seemed to enjoy it.
Yeah, but she didn't.
I mean, she enjoyed it the first time, so.
Yeah.
Interesting. Another interesting thing I want to bring up, obviously, Peter telling Aunt May that, he was there when Ben died. And, like, her reaction to that was kind of unexpected, I think.
I think that is maybe a more realistic reaction, but at the same time, it's not a very Aunt May reaction. And I also think the movie kind of starts off really well with going to that point of being like Aunt May kind of having that reaction and everything, but then kind of shits the bed because the next time they speak, it's like, oh, no, don't worry about that. We're all good. It's like...
Should have, like, explained it better.
Have some kind of conversation, have some kind of, reunion at that point of kind of talk through it and have some reconciliation. Don't just be like, you're fine, Peter. You do.
I was just
buddy.
upset. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's water under the bridge. It's like
over the dam, apparently.
Oh, over the dam? Well, if it's water over the
dam, she said both. She said both. She said both, and then she said whatever it is, which is a sentiment I can get behind.
It's like, I don't know what any of these things is. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to bring up about Spider-Man 2? Yeah. We had that beautiful moment of J.K. Simmons like being upset that Spider-Man wasn't around anymore. Only for really Spider-Man to steal his suit.
Just the reaction of him. He's a thief. He's a menace.
also, some minor point. I can't remember if it. I don't think it's this movie. Oh no, it's the first movie, isn't it? Don't worry.
The quickest face to heel turn in the history of wrestling. It's J.K. Simmons in this movie.
I mean, it was a heel to face to heel turn.
Yeah, within a minute.
And then his son gets stood up on his wedding day, and his first reaction is make sure the caterers don't open the caviar.
It's a fair point. Caviar's very expensive. I'm sure it's returnable. Can we also shout out the saddest person in this film? What's her name again?
James Franco?
Ursula. The daughter of the landlord. Yeah.
Ah. She just loves Peter.
She's clearly in love with Peter and he doesn't even notice. Yeah. And she has the landlord for a father. Rent?
She's the hero we deserve, but not the one we get.
She doesn't get a happy ending.
No.
Rent?
She's probably the other side. She's probably like standing in the peephole on the other side of the corridor watching as MJ kind of comes in and they kiss and stuff, and her heart was broken at that.
His door was open, so...
She's in 3 as well, right?
I don't remember. I don't remember fucking barely anything about 3. Here's my thing before we do 3, ahead of next week's 3. Obviously a movie that I feel like we were all going to go into going, this is bad. I'm going to be honest. I hope I come out going, you know what? Maybe we all overreacted a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I'll be surprised.
I think our expectations are so low.
Yeah.
Then maybe we'll be surprised.
Maybe. But at the same time, I'm still apprehensive about seeing Topher Grace as Eddie Brock.
Alright, let us know what you thought of Spider-Man 2 by going to explosion.com/Twitter or jump into a Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at All New Marvelcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, on Podchaser, or tweet about the show, or tell your friends in person, over a piece of pizza or something. That's the worst part. Is like Spider-Man stole that piece of pizza, and then you assume he had to put it back in the box with webs still attached. How long do you think he was do you reckon he would have been there on time if he had not had to put all the brooms back in the closet?
Yes, I think that was the point. That's how I took it anyway.
Good times. If you thought this episode was worth $1, and based on that last 20 seconds, why wouldn't you? Head on over to explosion.com/support and, donate to our Ko-fi. Alright. On our next episode of our Spider-Man Rewatch, we'll be discussing Spider-Man 3. So make sure you watch that. Enjoy us next time for another All New Marvelcast.